ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
So I just got an email with good news.
Yeah?
How often does that happen?
Not that often.
Rarely.
We have been wanting for years and years to rip out the carpet in my son's room.
Yeah?
Because one of 2 rooms upstairs that has wall-to-wall carpeting, and it is off-white.
Oh, you have talked about this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's looking pretty rough at this point. So I had a guy come and look at it and measure it and give us an estimate about getting rid of it. And he said, well, I'm concerned that there might be asbestos under here.
Eek!
And I was like, oh.
No.
Well, now you
Right.
are too, right?
Yeah, so now I'm concerned. And so we had it tested, and it is in fact not asbestos. It tested negative for asbestos. So that is the
Thank
good news that we
goodness.
will be able to now spend a bunch of money getting rid of the carpet.
Yay!
And we will not have to spend a bunch of money remediating the asbestos.
Yeah.
Oh,
And worrying
that wouldn't have
about
been
the
good.
cumulative effects of how many years of your kid living on top of asbestos.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it's not disturbed, it's okay, is what I've been told.
This is the same philosophy I apply to the dust in my son's room. As long as nobody touches it, it's not going to cause any
As
sun.
long as I don't look at it, it's fine.
Nobody breathe too hard. Just sneak in and out.
Hold your breath.
Yeah, so that
Well,
was
that's great
that
news.
was
Yeah.
a big relief.
Yeah.
Of course, the asbestos guy who came to take the samples.
Are you sure he isn't just a guy who is getting kickbacks from the
What?
asbestos testing firms? He just goes around going,
Well, that
I
was
think there
the
might be
floor
asbestos.
guy, but then it was a separate company, that came and did the asbestos, and the asbestos guy was like,
Yeah.
I said, the floor guy came and he said he's concerned about if there's asbestos and he can't hammer into it to put in a new floor, and he's like, oh, it's not that big a deal. He could do it, but you could find somebody else who would do it. I'm like, I don't think I will, actually, but okay, thanks for that.
Asbestos guy is not invested in his job.
No.
Or maybe he's just breathed in too much asbestos.
Yeah, that could be. Then he told me all about his blended family of 6 daughters and 3 dachshunds.
Oh. So you got to know him on a personal level.
Apparently so.
Is he going to Facebook friend you next?
The plumber also, the last time the plumber was here, told me a whole story about helping his stepson move out of his house, and loading up the truck for him, and then the stepson drove the truck to where he was moving and hired people to unload it. And so he was so mad that he had counted, this guy counted on his stepdad to help him load the truck, but he paid somebody to unload it.
Yeah.
He did not appreciate
Bit of a ripoff.
My handyman was working here on his daughter's first day of school and showed me the picture of her in her first day outfit.
Yeah.
Which was kind of
Right,
sweet. It's like, I don't know you or your family, but she's very cute.
But she's cute.
First day of school is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Must be lonely
funny.
work contracting.
Yeah.
Just go into people's houses and strike up a
It's
conversation.
weird. They're in your house and you feel like you have to make conversation,
Yes.
but you don't know them, so it's super awkward conversation. It's like
Yes.
this really it's like a Jerry Seinfeld story. It's like this weird, awkward place that you're put in.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you offer contractors coffee? Or
Sometimes
lunch?
water.
Or water, soda? I never know what to do, because they're not really a guest. But at the same time, if they're in your house all day, it seems like
But then
you
you're
should be
paying
hospitable.
them and they should be bringing their own water
Well,
because
that's
it's a
true
job.
also. That's true also. So I never know what to do. If I offer it and they say no, then I feel stupid. And if I offer it and they say yes, then I have to go make coffee. So
Then you have to do it.
I have to actually do it.
Then you have to follow up. Jeez.
Yeah. So
Oh, did you think I was serious? Okay, I'll be right back.
lose, basically. I'll hopefully have good news to report about my under construction bathroom for next week's podcast. We are out of manufacturer sent the wrong thing limbo.
Yay.
And now we are in the waiting a week for somebody to put a shower door on so we can use the shower. So it's just extended out,
Right.
So it's at that phase of a construction project where it's so far behind the schedule you had hoped for it that you really don't care anymore. It's like, it'll be done for longer than it took to do it. So whatever. It's like, we're trying to be stoic, but
You've reached a zen state.
I've reached a zen state of construction. But suppose they finally got the shower walls in, and then I called the handyman and said, the company he works for, and said, you can send in now and put all the other stuff in. And he said, let's look. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday. And I'm what? So,
He's
Tuesday.
too popular for his
He's
own
supposed to
good.
come. Maybe he'll finish something up earlier and be able to just stop by. I'm like, whatever. I'm moved back into my bedroom. I'm sitting here at my desk, amidst the toxic fumes from glues and paints, and I'm just fine. When it's done, it's done. Until then, I'll use my kids' shower. But the joys of home ownership and home construction
Absolutely.
and home podcasting, which is what we're doing right now. Hello and welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I'm Terri Morrow, and with me today are Nicole Eridix.
Hello.
And Catherine Haleko.
Hi.
Today on the podcast, we're going to talk about kids' bedroom decor on our Friday speed round. Wonder what got Catherine thinking of that. Hear an interview with occupational therapist Meghan Corridan, and do some shameless self-promotion. But first, we're going to talk about the limits of parenting. Are there limits, Catherine? Can we really not do everything? My mother was quite firm that if you worried about everything, nothing bad would happen.
Yeah, I know. She really tried hard.
Your
She
mother
did.
and I sound like we were kindred spirits in another,
We switched at birth, yes, quite possibly.
or twins from another mother or
There
something.
you go.
I don't know.
There you go.
Yes, well, we all do our best at this parenting thing, or at least we try.
Like
but
to think we do.
There's really no guarantee that, it'll work. So Terri spotted an article by a woman who's a nurse and a mom of 4, and she kind of addressed this. She wrote, the idea that we can control our kids' behavior and not only decrease, but nearly eliminate the chances of them making a poor choice is prevalent in today's society. It's the unspoken, unacknowledged belief that fuels our parenting practices. And what we don't talk about is the fact that these interventions aren't magic. I'm still quoting from this one. The lie we tell ourselves, the lie that puts tremendous pressure on us as parents and contributes to an overall lack of empathy in society is this: if we do everything right, everything will be fine. So she's trying to say, sure, good parenting practices are really great. Please don't abuse your kids.
Yes.
Please discipline them appropriately. Please read to them. Make sure they go to school, etc. But, the larger argument is we have to give ourselves room to make mistakes. So did you find this comforting, Terri? Is that what made you look at it?
I don't find it comforting, but I find it true. And, the flip side of that is that some kids are damaged by bad parenting and they have problems. But some kids come through bad parenting resiliently and then are the ones saying, my dad whipped me every day when I did something wrong and look at me, I'm just fine. And sometimes they are.
Right.
There's no black and white in this, as we often say here. Every kid is different, every parent is different, every family is different. And I also feel that there is less leeway in society now for kids to make mistakes and have it not be the end of the world. I think we used to know that sometimes smart kids do stupid things and good kids do bad things, and there would be some sort of framework for rectifying that. And in the sort of zero tolerance thing we have now, it doesn't seem that way. If you do something wrong, you are a terrible person and your parents were terrible people. And it's just not that way necessarily. Sometimes is, sometimes it's not.
Right. And it lives forever on the internet.
Exactly.
Even if it was an innocent mistake or whatever, you'll have a very hard time.
That's what it
living
feels
it
like.
Down.
There's just no way. And it's like, I'm parenting a kid with fetal alcohol syndrome. And one of the things that I learned about that is that in kids whose brains have been damaged by alcohol before birth, the part of the brain that has impulses and the part of the brain that knows the rules do not communicate well. So by the time the kid remembers what the rule is and wants to obey it, he has already broken it. This is an everyday reality for these kids. But I think for typical kids, when you add things like alcohol and hormones and peer pressure and adolescence to the mix, the same thing happens to them. Even when they know the rules and want to abide by the rules and think of themselves as good kids, under certain circumstances, the impulse is going to go first. And the other part of the brain is going to play catch up.
Well, it's a known fact that their decision making is not as well developed as, it's underdeveloped in those years.
Absolutely. So I think you can sit down with your kid, you can tell them all the things that we want to tell them, you can make sure they're good citizens and know exactly what to do, but you're talking to them at a time when alcohol, hormones, and all this other crud is not in operation. When it is, you can have the best car in the world, but if the brakes go out, it's going to hit something. So you can't guard against everything. And yet I feel like we're in a society that expects you to and judges you if you don't. And that's hard.
Well, Terri, unlike our past conversations, I'm going to echo what you say.
We're not going to fight. I've been feeling bad. It's like I'm disagreeing with Nicole all the time.
I had this, it's interesting that this article came out. This past week I had an email from somebody to my inclusive class email, and she was an adult working at a school and had a child that she was having difficulty working with and wanted some advice. And so she went on to give me the details and, about about what this child is doing and then everything she's doing to support the child. Because the child, is disruptive, not paying attention, like this whole checklist of all these things that the child is doing. And then she says, but I do this, and this. Therefore, this child is not wanting to learn and is affecting the learning of every other kid in the class.
Golly, I hear that a lot.
So,
yeah.
And so it kind of shocked me because, first of all, I thought, are you kidding me? And second of all, I had to sit down and write a very thoughtful yet professional email explaining to her that our children's behavior is not a direct reflection of what we do. We don't tick this checklist and they're supposed to behave because we've ticked off all the checks.
Yeah.
But it's rooted in other issues, like you said, with your you're parenting a child with FAS and this child could have ADHD, could have trauma related issues in their life, could have neglect. There's so many things that influence our children that we don't see sometimes as parents. Like you said, the drugs, the alcohol, the peer pressure.
Yeah.
Our kids are away from us all day at school.
Right.
Come home with this baggage of stuff.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why they get mad at us when we go ask them to go tidy their room.
That's right. Yes.
So,
yes. The delayed response is a big deal. That they overreact over one thing. You don't know all the things that have happened. In school, a lot of the times, if they've had a bad bus ride and all sorts of bad things have happened, and then they seem to go off for no reason at all. But it's only no reason at all because you just saw them.
Don't know the reason.
Right. You don't know the history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the, when you said delayed reaction, it made me think of say when my kids were much younger and they were in preschool or maybe early elementary grades, and you get a behavior, notice from the school. And it's like, okay, but if I do or say anything about this hours later, that has no effect at all. Like, you gotta be able to deal with this as it happens. Yeah. I mean, I sympathize. Like, I don't want my child to misbehave, but I'm not sure how to address it way after the fact.
That is very hard.
It's challenging. And I remember reading somewhere when I was teaching, I taught in inner city schools for the most part. And I remember reading that after a child experiences some form of trauma, their brain and their systems, they need about 48 hours to come down from that event in order to be open to learning or what, is happening in the positive things that's happening in the environment around them. So, Catherine, even if you were to say something to your son or your child, or if anybody was to say anything, to their child after school about an event that happened, they're probably not even listening anyway.
Yeah. Right. And think about kids who are experiencing that trauma regularly. I mean, they never get to recover.
And on an intense level. And so it was kind of a given at our school that on Mondays, we did not present any real new material or have like any real intent, like testing, or we gave them a day to decompress at school. And then we kind of amped up our programs midweek. But so it's taking all this stuff. I mean, even though you're running, or not running, but you're doing the parenting thing quite well, like you feel like you're doing things well at home, you don't know what's going on outside of the house or what is happening in them internally and the struggles that they're having inside.
And if you're sending a message of, I have done all the right things, therefore you will be a perfect child, you're pretty much assuring they're not going to come home and tell you if they're having a problem.
Oh, yeah.
So it's pressure on them too. And this idea that kids are like a smartphone game where if you do all the things right, you go on to the next level and everything, it's like, it's not that, they're not just something that if you push all the right buttons, a predictable outcome happens.
Yeah, that's what always drives me crazy about parenting advice, expert advice. Say X and the result is Y. Like, okay, you come try it.
It's like, if you go to Barnes & Noble, there are like 2 aisles worth of parenting books. If there was one easy answer, they would just give us all the book at the maternity ward and say, here, this is it.
And you'll be all good.
All children are exactly the same. Have a good time. If something goes wrong, it's your fault.
I think a good takeaway from the conversation is if your child is acting out, stop and ask them why, rather than immediately, kind of
assume they're doing it on purpose to be bratty.
Right.
Yeah, just kind of stop and ask why and get the background story first.
Right.
There's, in our head, we're checking off the list and they should be performing accordingly.
But also to take some of the pressure off of everybody. I mean, teachers are going to assume that if there's a problem, it's because the kid is not being treated right at home, not being disciplined right, or being traumatized at home. Parents are going to assume it's the teachers. It could be something completely different. It could be kids being traumatizing to other kids.
Could be an undiagnosed medical issue.
It could be all sorts of different things. And once you put up the walls and say, well, I've done everything, so therefore it's somebody else's fault, you're never going to find out what the thing is.
Well, remember, I don't know where, this is another quick little aside too that kind of supports our conversation, but I don't know if this ever happened with you and your kids, but when my daughter was a baby, there was one particular day that she was just fussing a lot, like just lots and lots of fussing going on. And I, check her diaper and feed her and burp her and try and put her to bed. And she just was not having any of it, right? It was just one of those horrible days.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I suffered all day. And at the end of the night, I'm giving her a bath so that she can go to bed. And I take off her little onesie and a little string is curled around her toe. So it's like, okay, another classic example of all this behavior was for a reason. It wasn't because I was, it wasn't being fixed because I was changing the diaper and feeding her and burping her, and it was something totally different.
Yeah.
that was affecting her behavior, but
yeah. And as our kids get older, those get harder to find. But it's still oftentimes there's a string somewhere.
There is a string. Look for the string around the toe.
Look for that darn string. That is our title of our parenting advice book.
Look for the string.
Look for the string.
For the string.
Well, maybe it's decorating the kids' room. Maybe that's where the
Maybe
string
that's the problem. Maybe they don't like their decor. Maybe
environment is important.
That's right. Maybe there's asbestos under their carpet.
Or maybe they're overstimulated. Maybe they just don't like the colors that you chose. Are you a control freak when it comes to decor? Yes, this is the topic of our next conversation, our speed round. And that is, how much input do your kids have on their decor choices in their bedrooms? Are they acting out? You have total control over their choice, or no choice at all? So how do your kids, or I guess, what role do they play in what is inside their bedroom? In terms of, I guess, color, bedding, light fixtures, posters, all that kind of stuff. Terri, how about your kids?
I don't know that I would describe either of my kids as having decor particularly. In our first house, which we decorated their rooms before we adopted them, then we had colored walls, and we had a friend paint a Calvin and Hobbes mural on my son's bedroom wall, and my daughter had, I decorated things up for her. And then when we moved to this house, I guess they were old enough to kind of decide for themselves, and they didn't really care, so nothing really much got done. My son's bedroom decor is basically a hoarder's theme with large plastic crates of old toys he hasn't touched in probably a decade, piled up along the walls because he doesn't ever want to get rid of anything, covered with dust. He used to collect car magazines, like the free ones you get from the grocery store. So there's bookcases with piles and piles of dusty, yellowed car magazines. It's a disaster. It's horrible. And I wasn't kidding when I said it's covered with so much dust that it's become a decorating
back away
element.
Slowly.
And I'm afraid of removing anything because Jimmy Hoffa might be in there someplace, but it's bad. But, he doesn't want to get rid of anything. He doesn't mind it. He's not motivated to do anything. He has pictures on his wall of an actress he liked, 15 years ago that he doesn't really care about now, but he just, he's a status quo guy. Mm-hmm. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll change it tomorrow. I'll fix it tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes. My daughter, we did decorate her room up a little bit, I think, when she turned 18 or 21. We got her some new furniture. We got her a TV. So she's got a little bit more, and she's very organized. So she keeps her stuff pretty neat. But it's not like something you'd see in a Pottery Barn catalog or anything. It's just a room, Mm-hmm. Nothing much. And they don't really care particularly. She cares probably a little more than him. She puts pictures of, friends and family members up on the wall. And even the photos that don't quite belong to her, she puts up on her wall, as I think we've discussed before.
I believe that was in a speed round at some point.
Yes, so that's fine. I don't really care. It's not like my room is particularly a decorator showcase either. So, do you guys do your kids, are they into that? Do they want to decorate? I mean, I was somebody who wanted to decorate my room when I was a kid. I was into it. At different ages, different things is what I wanted. I had a big canopy bed one for a while.
Oh, I want one of those.
With yellow frilly stuff on it. And at one point I put the long curtains so that I could hide behind it. So that was a thing, but not my kids.
Yeah. My both have opinions, I mean, actually my son, he's been wanting, as we were talking earlier about removing the carpet that's in his room, and he's been looking forward to that. He wants to get rid of it, and he has lots and lots of ideas for what could happen next in that room, including he would really like a Murphy bed so that he could have the entire floor free. Cool. And he would paint a knee hockey court or whatever rink on the floor. And he has lots and lots of ideas and opinions like that. The thing is that, first of all, I'm not buying a Murphy bed. And
can you even buy a Murphy bed?
Yeah, you can. But buy? even if I wanted to, there is no wall in his room that can accommodate a Murphy bed, because he has like those eaves, like the the big triangular thingies that are on two sides of a window, and so the window side isn't wide enough, and then the two other walls have the triangles, and then the fourth wall has a door which connects to my daughter's room. So there's really, unless we like covered up that door, which neither of them seems to want to do, which kind of surprises me, but okay. So there's no place for a Murphy bed.
Maybe a sofa bed or something, so he at least could have it off to the side.
Yeah,
futon?
Maybe. I mean, he has a captain's bed right now, so that it's got a trundle underneath it.
Yeah. My daughter has that.
But it's kind of falling apart, so we have to replace it. But it almost has to be like a daybed style, because there's no good spot to put the headboard because of the aforementioned crazy layout of this room. And we, as a part of a separate project, we are going to have some electrical work done, and our electrician said, well, you should, if you want overhead lights in any of the upstairs room, you should do, now's your chance, basically. So I have to get some light fixtures, and I'm sort of thinking about, do I kind of give the kids, like, here's 3 to choose from, or do I send them out there and say, okay, your budget is X, and see what you can find.
Like a reality TV show,
right? Like, go on Pinterest and get busy. So that's kind of where I am on this topic right now. Very timely.
Well, my son, the only thing he cared about was having his band posters on the wall, his rock band posters. Yeah. Some were a little bit inappropriate, and so I would get in there with my black Sharpie and do some covering up. I'm sorry, but if the girl went from a thong to leggings, that's what
at least made the leggings skin tight, right? They weren't like mom jeans
only.
I had a younger daughter at the time who didn't need to see this stuff. So I was a little concerned about that. I did have him, when he was younger, he had a themed room, but as he got older, things were kind of, mix and match. But yes, he was very particular about his posters, so much so that when he moved out, he lived on his own for 2 years, and then he moved in with his girlfriend, and my husband and I had bets on how long the posters would last in the apartment he shared with his girlfriend, or shares with his girlfriend. And about a year they lasted, and just a couple weeks ago he came sulking home with his posters in hand. All rolled up. Can you store these for me, please? She won't let me have them on the wall anymore.
So they're back in your house.
They're back in my house. So obviously she has a lot more control over his decor than what I did.
Yeah.
And my daughter, on the other hand, she could care less. I'm the one that has to decorate it. I care more than she does.
Yeah.
She could care less. As long as she's got her lamp and her fan and her computer and cords to charge her phone, that's all she cares about.
That's important.
So, yes, very important. Cords.
Be happy anywhere.
Outlets.
Yes, that's all she wants is just outlets, cords, and a light.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah, so she could care less what goes on around her, but yeah. So that's the story of my kids. Then remember, you can hear a new speed round every Monday through Thursday.
Okay, and now we are going to hear from Meghan Corridan. She is a pediatric occupational therapist, and she has some great suggestions for us this time on toys and tools that you can use therapeutically that are inexpensive and readily available. So let's hear from Meghan. So we're here with Meghan Corridan, a pediatric occupational therapist. She joins us about once a month to talk about some of her favorite occupational therapy toys and tools and activities that she does with the kids that she works with. And recently on her blog, Meghan rounded up 10 top tools that are $10 or less. So that sounds appealing. So we want to hear about why you chose these and why it's helpful for families to have some of these in their stash.
So, a lot of the families I work with, they want to be able to sort of carry over some of the work that I'm doing at the gym with their kids, but, they don't have the same tools that we have. And it gets to be really expensive. So one of the things I like to do is to offer parents ideas that A, are inexpensive, and B, easy to take places, and C, things that are cost effective. So if they have other children, you can buy multiples of them, because what ends up happening is, one kid comes home with like a therapy toy and it looks like so much fun, and the siblings want it. So
right,
finding things that are under $10 is really good for like just family, for families in general. And I try and keep them as like normal as possible. Things that you can find at little toy stores or find on Amazon, and that way that keeps the price down of things as well.
And it's just more accessible. It's not like something you have to order from a special therapeutic toy catalog.
Exactly. I mean, those catalogs are awesome, but they're often, the things are often like 5 times more expensive. And some parents just really don't want to have to buy things from therapy catalogs. Like, they just want to be able to buy typically developing toys for their children. So one of the biggest hits I have right now, the slime craze. I know it's not as crazy as it was in the beginning of the summer, but kids, especially younger kids, still love slime. And I was in a learning express with my nieces and my daughter, and I found these things called slime suckers. And I think they were like $4, maybe $5. And it's like a little alien head with a hole for its mouth and a bucket of slime. And you have to use your fingers and squeeze the head and put it in the slime, and it sucks it up. And it's disgusting and hilarious, and the kids love it. And they don't realize that they're working on things like bilateral coordination or hand strength or eye-hand coordination. And it generates a whole lot of conversation with the kids as well.
Right, and something to do with that slime, because, we have baggies of it sitting around. I'm like, well, what do we do now? Like, it's great to be able to actually use it for something.
Yeah, and for some of my kids, they have tactile defensiveness, so like trying to slowly introduce new textures and materials to them. This has been a good way of doing it, because it's all hidden in like the humor of like sucking up slime. And I'll like sneeze out when the kids like squeeze it, so it looks like they're sneezing out stuff, and like they just it for something so inexpensive, it can bring about hours and hours of fun.
And some great therapy work, some great goals that they can try to meet.
And you can find, if you go onto Amazon and you just do like a slime sucker search, like there's endless opportunities of like animals or people. So the kids can choose whatever they want. Another, this has been one of my favorite forever. They're the Zeus sticks, they're child-friendly chopsticks, and they have either animals on top or vehicles. Some are dinosaurs. But that's one of the first things I recommend to parents. Again, they're under like $5, and they're really, really well made. And I've used a lot of kids' chopsticks, and these are the easiest for the kids to use. And what's nice about them is that you can work on developing fine motor strength, grasping skills, again, bilateral coordination and hand strength, hand-eye coordination, because you can do a ton of different activities with them. So, I tell parents they should use them for when they're eating, cut up like their chicken or fish into small pieces and have them eat with that, or pick up pasta or veggies. It's another way to hide like doing actual strengthening work.
Right. And it doesn't have to be Chinese food. Obviously, you can eat anything with these.
You can play with toys with them. They're these squishy, like, little animals that you can find in little toy stores. Like oftentimes you can find like tubes of animals in dollar stores. And I have the kids pick those up and rescue them from the mud or whatever it is, like make a game out of it. But you find things that interest the kids, or if you have a game that has small pieces, I have the kid pick up all the pieces and put them away using the chopsticks. So it's something very simple, but it can be used in so many different ways.
And I like the using it to put away, because then you're accomplishing another task at the same time.
Right. Another great thing I've discovered as my daughter has become really interested in writing and drawing is a travel notebook is like one of the simplest and easiest and therapeutic products you can get. I like there's one by this company called Uli, and I like it because it comes with a pen built in. It has a folder, so like if you're out and about, like my daughter likes to collect stickers or business cards from places, and she likes to write things about them. So she'll collect those and stick them in her little folder. But it comes in like different colors, which often motivates the kids. And it has different kinds of paper. It has lined paper, graph paper, and plain paper. So you can either, you can do a lot of different things with it. But especially for older kids, like you don't want to, when you're like sitting in a restaurant and you don't want them having an iPhone or an iPad, like you pull out this travel notebook and you can play tic-tac-toe or play a game of I Spy. It's a really simple way to keep kids entertained.
Yeah. And as we've talked about in previous chats about getting kids to practice writing, having something that's their own that they can do whatever they want with is really motivating.
Absolutely. And having a different color for each kid, if you have, it's just a nice way to keep kids occupied, whether it's at in a therapy appointment or at a doctor's office, like just without making too much noise. I find it to be a more calming kind of activity than technology.
Great. Okay. How about one more from your list? And we'll obviously link to the story so everybody can see all 10, but we're going to spotlight one more.
Okay. So little mini sport games. I have found that as my kids get older, especially the boys who are not as interested in handwriting or drawing, trying to find ways to motivate them, especially when they realize that they're having a difficult time with things, has been one of my biggest challenges. So now if Fat Brain Toys is like one of my favorite websites, and they have a whole series of mini sports games. And what's great about these is that you can tap into a kid's interest in sports, but also work on developing fine motor and grasping skills at the same time. It's also highly social. So, you can work on turn taking, sportsmanship, and all of those things that kids might struggle with.
And these are those sort of little tabletop, like where you use your fingers to launch a little basketball into a hoop or whatever. Okay.
Or there's like a football game where you use your fingers to flick the ball into the goal or whatever. They're all very, very different, but yeah, they all require the use of the little muscles of your hands.
Great. Well, thank you, Meghan. These are some awesome ideas for parents who are looking for therapeutic toys that don't quite look like therapeutic toys and that are nice and inexpensive and easy to find. Yeah. So thank you for that. We will talk to Meghan again next month, and we really appreciate you being with us today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And we always enjoy her ideas and suggestions. And she's got so much real world experience, because she has her patients and she has a daughter who is about 7. So she really knows what works with kids. I used to love
going and talking to OTs and getting ideas like that. If you have an OT in your life, if your child sees one at school or you take them to see one, just ask them, what should I be getting? What cool things could I get to use at home? And they will give you all sorts of neat ideas and steer you possibly to OT catalogs that are expensive, but incredibly cool, but also maybe can help you find stuff like Meghan just did. And now, for our final segment today, we're going to do a little shameless self-promotion and direct you to some things on our sites that we think you should take a look at. Terri, have you updated your websites like you promised to 10 or 12 episodes ago? Well, no, but just now, while we were waiting for Catherine's computer to restart, to do this podcast, I wrote 2/3 of a post for my Tumblr blog, Too Old for Cool. And so it's entirely possible that I will write the 3rd paragraph and get it published by Friday. Not for sure, but it could happen. So let's just say that I will. But this is a Tumblr I started to sort of write about pop culture, and this is how prolific I have been. The 3rd post down is about the premiere of This Is Us. So I guess it's been a busy year. I have not written much, but I hope to write more now. So check it out at tooOldForCool.tumblr.com. Nicole, what do you got this week?
Well, I just threw up a quick little infographic on my website after I had experimented extensively with helping my daughter read faster. Reading she's not a fast reader. So, and she's got a lot of reading this year in school, and I was trying to figure out ways to get her to make it, a little bit easier on her. And, she already uses the audio tapes, but, we were trying different things. So I threw up a post about that. And actually, just FYI, 2 really cool things that do help is she changed the font of the text that she's reading, and then she uses a yellow color overlay.
I was going to ask you if you tried those. And we used to use those rulers. I'm trying to think of the name of the website that had them. It's like I
just got it off Amazon.
Yeah, it was like a strip of paper and with a little with a little yellow cellophane thing on top, and you could just move it down the page.
Yeah. But, she's just using it.
Those are very helpful to my daughter too.
Yeah. So, but that's what I did.
Making the font bigger, I do that when I'm copy editing now. I thought it was just because I was old. It's like if I can blow up this paragraph to fill my entire screen, I can just about read it. It's okay.
And she actually, when she studies, she actually changes the style of font on purpose to make it a bit more complicated, so that she has to pay extra attention to what she's reading, and it sticks in her brain. Mm-hmm.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I bet there's a lot of tricks like that now that we have the power to change the fonts on things.
I know.
What a cool thing that is.
Mm-hmm. So that's
Not in my day. We didn't.
Nope.
It was just...
You got what you got.
Pica or Elite, depending on your typewriter ball. So, Catherine, what do you have to share this week?
So, a few weeks ago, we talked about family discussions and conversations on our Friday speed round. And soon after that, I got an assignment to write about conversation starters and ways that you can get your kids to talk about their school day at the dinner table.
Oh,
cool.
So I have 11 suggestions over at readersdigest.com on that very topic.
Excellent.
Yay.
I think I saw your crowdsourcing post on Facebook about that.
Yeah, I got some good
Tried
stuff.
to think if I had something, but we prefer not to talk with the children. We just
right.
Just eat, kids. Focus on the food.
Well, one of the best ones I got, someone sent me privately. I don't know why she didn't want to comment publicly, but she sent it to me privately, and it was about asking your kids, either in the morning, ask them to do something nice for someone they don't know that day, and then at the end of the day follow up, or you could just, And she said, of course, we don't do this every day. Or you could just ask at the end of the day, did anyone do something nice for you today? And that would be a nice conversation starter. So I thought that was a great one. And I included it. So it's on that.
Nice.
It's in that story.
Yeah. We always had luck with asking for specific things rather than just, how was your day? You know, tell me 3 things you did.
Right.
And then I will let you go and you can go get a snack. Like the troll under the bridge. Tell me 3 things.
Answer my riddle.
Before you enter this room. Well, I think we had lots of great insight in our speed round today. So that's it for
we have to go lay down now.
Yeah. Go lay down. So that's it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you'll join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on parentingroundabout.com or download them from Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe so you get all of our podcasts and mini podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter, where I am at Nicole Eridix, Catherine is at C. Haleko, and Terri is at Mamatude. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Roundabout Chat and look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram too. Best of all, stop by our podcast page at parentingroundabout.com and read recaps, find links on all the stories we mention, and talk back in the comments. Thanks to John Moran for providing our in and out music, and I wish everyone a great week.